So obviously you're not oblivious.
And you have to oblivious.
So you have to come home and put on a face
Yeah,
for the sake of your kids after you've
Right.
just visited Thailand and
Right.
witnessed these suicide bombings. How do you,
Right.
as a mother,
Right.
then convey that to your children?
Right. I don't know. I think what would happen often. Hi, Greg. This is my husband, Greg.
Hi, how are you? We have a surprise guest.
Yeah, surprise guest, Greg Myrie.
Hi.
Hi.
Terry.
Greg. Hi, Karen. How you
Nice to
doing?
meet you. Hi, Brady Nathan.
Ruby,
Nice
hi,
to meet
how
you.
doing? Good to meet you.
Hi.
Hi.
Eva, nice to meet you.
Hi, Eva. How you doing?
So we're just kind of meandering, talking about. what we
Okay.
might
Well, I
issue.
didn't mean to interrupt the flow.
No, it's fine.
It's okay.
You can, if anything you need to do is, it's fine. We sent the baby on a walk.
So we were
so
just talking about how you sort of convey this.
Yeah. Well, I think what would happen, and I don't know if Greg would agree, but I think often you would come home from these horrific stories or a very emotional story. I mean, I remember once being pregnant. Annalise was already 2, or just under 2, and coming home from interviewing the mother of a suicide bomber in Gaza, who had literally just made a video with her son, knowing that he was going to go off and, in the process, try to kill as many Israelis as possible and kill himself. And she kissed the Quran and she kissed him on the head and sent him off in this video. And I thought, I've got to find this woman and understand what it is. Try to understand, not that I don't think one could ever understand the psychology of something like that, but to at least try to sit across from her and dig into what was going through her mind. So those kind of stories really intrigued me, and I found that I pursued a lot of those, I think, because I had young children, and I think those were some of the stories that had the biggest impact on our audience, because it was taking you behind the scenes of the conflict and not just reporting on, the numbers of killed in a certain incident, but actually trying to get at the psychology of what was going on in this conflict. So I think what would happen is I would come back from Gaza or during the war in Lebanon, when we were up at the border for the month, I would come home, and sometimes I would be, the kids would be fine. They'd be happy and playing. They had their routine. We kept the routine, was very important to them and for us, for them. And I would walk through the gate and I would burst into tears and sort of collect myself before I'd go in and greet them, or hug them so tight when I saw them that I would cry and try not to let them see. And it was very cathartic having children, I think, there, because it just it helped humanize a very inhuman situation, and it kept us going, and allowed us to stay non-cynical and connected to the human beings involved in the conflict in a way that I felt was very beneficial to our reporting.
What was some of the psychology like for these women, for these mothers?
Question.
As a parent,
I'm not sure I ever understood it myself, but no, this one woman, she actually, strangely enough, she eventually got elected to the parliament when Hamas took over Gaza. What was her name?
Well, they called her mother of the martyrs.
Mother of the Jihad. Yeah.
Jihad, or mother, Maryam Farhat.
Maryam Farhat, Jihad, mother of the martyrs. She had 7 or 8 kids, and the way she described it to me, I'm not saying that it was something that I accepted, but the way she described it to me, she says, look, during World War II, mothers sent their children, their sons off to battle thinking that they would most likely die in Europe. So what's the difference to me sending a son off? And I said, well, but there's a big difference. You're strapping a belt to your son, and essentially, there was another mother up in Jenin. Jenin was a town that was known for tons of suicide bombers. It was churning out suicide bombers at a certain period of time. And there was a mother who described to me that this was like a wedding for her. This was actually the mother of a female suicide bomber. There was a trend where female suicide bombers became the trend at a certain point because they had an easier time getting through checkpoints, and the soldiers were easier on the women than they were on the males of a certain age, and so the Palestinians took advantage of that at a certain point in time. And this woman said, "Oh, I see this as her daughter had blown herself up in a restaurant in Haifa." Next to a baby carriage, and I remember covering that, and I was so physically sick at the time that you know, having to tell this story, and then making my way to this village town in the West Bank to find the family and find out what had driven this girl to kill herself and to kill so many and to want to bring down so many others with her, and the mother was just there was a total disconnect, and from my point of view, I mean, she justified it in religious terms, in terms of, you know, this was like a wedding for her daughter, that she was definitely, because these suicide bombers were considered, and they had been brainwashed into believing they were martyrs, they believed they were going straight to heaven, and there was no way that this mother didn't believe that, and it was very, I'm not sure you can ever really understand. You can talk to people. We talked to failed suicide bombers in prisons who had not been able to detonate their bomb, who had been caught, and it was a very disturbed, brainwashed psychology, really. So, you know, I tried to sort of shave away the layers and get up. I'm not sure I don't think I have the answer as to how a mother could send a child off to be a suicide bomber.